There's a period, isn't there? I think we all experience this. There's a sense of anytime we ask that we want to be more anything. I want to be more peaceful. I want to be more present. I want to be more loving, understanding. The I in that sentence is the I who isn't that yet. Is the belief, the still believing that there's a little I that can become any of these things. We already are that. It's the little I who wants to become that needs to be let go of. But when we ask that, let's say, I want to be more peaceful. And we really bring our awareness to peaceful. The very first thing we're going to encounter are all the ways that we're not peaceful. But wait a minute. I was trying to bring in peace. I was trying to bring in peace. It's already there. So in our effort, I want to be more peaceful, we start to see all the ways we're seeking to be peaceful. We start to see all the ways we don't already feel peaceful. And it can be really disappointing. So we just meet those. Move closer to it. Move closer to all the ways you don't feel peaceful. Until you start to recognize them for what they are, thought forms. Not real. Move closer to them. Oh, I want to move away from that place, that way I don't feel peaceful. No, move closer to it so you can actually see it for what it is. Just a belief system, not a reality. There's a wonderful teaching, and I've got to look up where it came from. I've just heard it recently, and I loved it. It just felt so resonant. That if you were walking at night, let's say you're walking down a path at night, and the light's a bit dim, and you see something ahead on the path, and it's a snake. And a fear arises. Snake. So I'll run away from snake. Maybe it's not a snake. Maybe it's a stick. How are you going to know? There's only one way to find out, right? Go closer to it. Go closer to it. This thing, wait, it's a stick. Move into your fear, move into the pain, move into the doubt, move into the uncertainty, move into the not peaceful, move into the not loving. And poke at it and see what it is. It's actually not real. It's a conditioned state of being, it's a thought form. It's not real. Does that make sense? Yeah. So close your eyes. Just breathe into the stopping. Nothing to do. Nothing to create, nothing to figure out, nothing to manifest. See if you can distance yourself a bit from and put down this part of you that is still seeking, still looking, hoping for. It's a stillness without expectation. Because what's the thing that has the expectation is the thing that believes that it's not that yet. It's a stillness and a stopping without expectation. Okay, I'll do this, but I'm really still curious about what it's going to get me and how it's going to turn out. Put down, leave aside, just for the time being, the self that needs to reference the past to understand the now so that it can apply that in the future. Let go of the self that needs to reference the past so that it can interpret the now so that it can apply that in the future. No interpretation necessary, no assessment necessary, just be. It's like when we're in the beauty of the wilderness, it gives us permission to stop. It's not the beauty that is creating the peace, it's the stopping. We can stop anywhere, anytime. And in the stopping, when we still feel a bit of the interpreter and assessor, okay, who zoom out, what is aware of that? What is aware of the self that still needs to look, that still is trying to create, that's still trying to stabilize? You're not creating better thoughts about self. Thoughts will not stabilize. There is no self to create. There's an isness that is already present. When all efforting falls away. And as you find yourself in this place, imagine that what people are typically doing is they're saying, okay, how do I transition over to that and just be that all the time? And imagine that that's on one side of the bridge, there's a person self. And then on this side of the bridge, where we are right now, is just this, oh, there it is. The peace that I already am, the beauty, the I amness. That's whole, that's eternal, that has no lack. And we can experience that in a meditation, in a stopping. Ah, there it is. And we ask now, how do I transition over to that? Well, we already did. It's there. That's it. You can imagine just let go of the bridge. Maybe you don't need a bridge to go back to being the person. Your form, your being in this world will take care of itself from this place of truth. It does not need to carry it back. Just be this. Let go of the bridge. Stop crossing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Otherwise, you end up living just in the middle of the bridge all the time. And that's kind of this suffering place of, am I the person? Am I the eternal nature? Am I the person? Am I the eternal nature? Just be the eternal nature. The personness will take care of itself. The ego form, this temporary form of being, will take care of itself. So imagine walking out the door today and not feeling like you're crossing back over the bridge to go be a person. You just walk out the door as the eternal isness, the I am that, the I amness, and to see how life takes care of itself. Nothing to prove, nothing to validate, nothing to create, nothing to feel threatened. no separation. And imagine if the entire world in this moment somehow, magically, everyone at the same time just stopped trying to be and trying to create themselves and just got this recognition of, oh my God, this is what I've always been. I can stop searching, seeking, proving, validating, defending, pushing, manipulating. Everyone would just suddenly start looking around at each other going, oh, hi, there you are. Sorry, I was using you to validate myself. And I was doing all this stuff to try to manipulate this self. And now that I know and can live in and abide in this truth of being, there's no more of that that's needed. I'm sorry. Now we can just love and be and choose. Yeah, I don't feel like being around you. I don't have to make you wrong or vilify any of this. I can just choose a resonant life that feels resonant with this truth of being. So, what comes up for you? What comes alive? What wants to be explored or shared or still kind of unraveled a little bit, or what does this bring up?
The oneness of it all. It's just one. I've started doing the Course in Miracles again. It's like there's no difference. There's no difference.
No difference. Yeah, it's just a habit, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see and feel self as separate.
It reminds me of the joke you showed me yesterday with the women's basketball team. There's a women's basketball team, and I think it's all white, small girls, and all about third down is this very large black woman. Next to her is a cheerleader who has on a white shirt. And it says, I know what you're thinking. Why is she the only one wearing the white shirt?
Exactly. That's really the only difference. Is the costume that you just put on.
Right. Yeah. And I think about that with my clothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've gotten pretty minimal. Wear the same thing over and over. It's just a costume. I gotta put it on to go out.
Right.
They frown on clothes.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
We're not trying to kill the personal identity. We're not trying to kill the ego identity. We're just asking it to be humbled into its proper place of being, so it's not overshadowing the truth of who we are. We're just saying, yeah, I'm Chess, and I got a certain way that I'm being in the world, and ideally that being is now more pure because it's just from the love consciousness, not from the conditioned state of trying to belong in the world. But I've got a certain personality. I have a soul. My soul has history. It's got past. It's got a certain resonance to it. And some souls play music, and other souls are intellect, and other souls are playful and loving. And we've got all these different ways of being. We're not trying to kill that off. We're just trying to say, let's purify. Let's let go of all the need to create a separate sense of self.
And
Please, yeah.
the other is what that brings up for me is perception and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, why should you have the t-shirt on? You know, that's what I'm noticing. It's like, really? Because that's everywhere I go. You know, looking at Destiny. Wow. You know, just and examining things. And and I think it's just like that, those thoughts that keep
Assessing and interpreting.
Yeah, assessing. Yeah, that's like I said. I don't have to assess anymore. I'd love to just walk into the grocery store and
Yeah.
see the food and see the energy of the people, and we're all here together. And, I got gas the other day. I was waiting on one side, and then another truck pulled up, and then someone went where he could go in, and he waved me around.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came around, and I said, "Well, thank you." And he said, "Well, that's the way it's supposed to be." He said, "If you were one of my family members, I would do that." I am one of your family members.
There it is. I am one of your family members.
So there's like treat everyone. This is my family member. It's really great because I have some family here now too visiting, so that helps. But this is my family. This is my cousin who walked in and said, "Oh, sorry, I'm late." It's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
That's all.
I experienced something a little similar the other day, except I was the other end of it. I had to call Chase, and very professional customer service rep on the other end. She kind of sounded like a robot. You understand they're saying the same things over and over. And at the end, she said, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I said, "Yes. What I want you to do for me is have a great weekend." And she just started laughing, and you could just tell it just made her day. Kind of broke up for the month. Just the same old in her day, and it took an extra 2 seconds of mine and no energy, hardly whatsoever. And if that man and I can do that for her, and hopefully it made her happier to spread it to someone else. There wouldn't be so much negativity in this world if we just looked at each other as family and encouraging each other on this journey.
It just seems so darn simple that it doesn't have value, because it's so darn simple and it's so darn true. But really, there's got to be something more I can do here. No,
Just
you don't
be.
have to do a darn thing.
Yeah.
Except love. Yeah. That's value. It's so simple.
I love hearing when somebody says, "Oh, I just had this great experience. It was just so fun. I was just so engaged and involved. And oh my God, what a great time." And oftentimes they'll say, "I just was having such a great time. I totally forgot about myself." That's why you had a great time. It's kind of like being with the whales. It was like whales, raven, whatever. It was the stopping that was the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So in this experience, I loved the music. I was in the car. I was just so into music, and I just loved it. A big part of that love, a big part of that experience is because we've stopped and interrupted a constant judgment and assessing of everything. It's just the being. I was able just to be. Oh, it felt so good. Yes, it does. It does. And we don't need the concert. We don't need the whale. We don't need the rocks. We don't need the this or the that. It can often just be stop. Just remember to stop. Stop in the middle of the market. Stop. And open your eyes and go, "Oh, look, there's just more me everywhere." Mom and I were talking about the Olympics. And neither one of us have been as drawn to watch the Olympics as we have been in the past. I was really looking at that. What is that? It used to be my favorite thing. And I believe that what's happening is that it was a place to go to feel really good. I'm not hiking as much these days. I'm just finding that I'm less drawn to destinations or experiences of watching the Olympics to feel really good. There's enough stopping in life right now that there's just this peace and presence, and this is what life is about, is already present. I'm looking less and less for external experiences to tap into.
I think we were less drawn to distractions. We needed those distractions. I'll go back and watch this. It's going to really be good.
Yeah.
Maybe it will.
I've been finding the exact same thing I found with the Super Bowl, I found with the Olympics, And I used to be an avid watcher of TV shows and movies, and I don't even remember the last time I turned my TV on. Because when I'm able to get back to my little apartment and can make a fire, or just put on some meditation music and just get within myself, and that's the best place to be. I don't need the outer world for fulfillment as much as I used to in the past.
I have a client that I'm working with that his own admission is severely addicted to validation. And is also drawn to non-duality and the teachings of presence, and true nature, and awakening. And so he said, okay, I'm going to give up these addictions of validation, of dating, womanizing, all these ways that his ego can get fed, and I'm going to practice and be, and see what happens when I am not that, and maybe open up to something else. And he was enjoying it, but then after about a month, man, the ego body was just so strong. It's just, this is hell. And so this is hell, why would I keep doing this? This is hell. And he went back to the old way of being, trying to take with him the sense of, yes, but now I'm doing it more consciously. So he's right in this incredible struggle. And I was like, well, how long have we been working together? How long did you really, give yourself to this experience to try to break this old habit of being? He was like a month, and it was hell. Exactly.
Oh, much.
So recognize that in being still and not being in this addiction, there was hell. What do you do in hell? As Winston Churchill says, when you're going through hell, keep going. Exactly. Right? Not, oh, this is hell, therefore it's not of value, let me go back. It's all right, but because I kept asking, remember, what do you want? Do you want freedom? He keeps saying he wants freedom. Yeah, I want freedom, but it turned out to be hell. So this is what I was talking about. The very first thing we encounter, I want to be free, is he encountered all the ways that he's not free, and it was hell. So abandon ship and go back to the old way of being. But at least now he's got this experience of saying, wow, this is really how addicted I am.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the Book of Joy.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read that?
No.
I think you've read that, haven't you? It's the Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, they talk about, finding what your purpose is in life. And for them, the theme is happiness and joy. And they describe happiness as needing an antecedent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that joy is your central being,
Mm-hmm.
kind of that stopping that you're talking about. And they say in their book that human beings are here essentially to bring joy to one another and into your life. That is the basic premise. And so I when you were talking, I thought, I've had periods in my life where I've thought, I just need to be at peace. Working at that peace part, rather than moving closer to the unpeacefulness. That really resonates for me.
Mm-hmm.
Step into the discomfort, bring it in, so that it becomes part of who I am, as opposed to something separate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just wonder if we are, joy is our central right.
Mm-hmm.
That it means being part of the whole, being part of the bigger picture, sharing that love, not backing away from it, not finding that part where this is my peaceful place. It's not peaceful.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
And I have to just share this because Dara will totally get this. I brought her mother here from Michigan, who's 91. And, you know, I have a routine in the morning. My morning is sit, meditate. And I haven't been able to do that for a week. And so it really made sense to me when you said, you know, step up to that snake.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. They're rambling.
No, that's beautiful. One of the things I heard in there was to bring joy in. And then you also referenced, well, wait a minute, what if it is the natural state of being? The joy is the natural state of being. So let me ask you then, you can play with this in this moment. If the joy comes and goes, right? Can joy really go? Where does it go? If joy is an essence of being, is a natural, oh, there it is it not a discovery again of it was there all along? Or do you have a sense it comes and goes away? Or is it there, central? How does it feel?
And that would be the stopping part.
Well, how does it feel to you? Does it feel like it's central, like it's there?
Sometimes.
And when it's not, does it go
Where does
away?
it go? Right. It's always there.
Yeah, and are you just saying that because this is a practice in the satsang is we want to look at, are we just looking at concepts? So we have the opportunity to drop into it. So feeling into the truth. Does it go away? Does it go away? How does it feel? What's resonant for you? Does it go away? Or does it come and go? Or is it already there, eternal?
It's there eternal.
Okay, beautiful. So then, in poking at the snake to see if it's a stick, if it's eternal, let's look at then the I, the experience that makes it seem like the joy goes away. What is that? If you really look at it, let's really poke at it. What is it? Is it a snake? Is it a stick? What is it? What is the thing, the condition that seems to make the joy go away and then come back and go away and come back? What is that? When you really step up to it. What is it?
The construct of the ego. For me, that's what it would be.
Mm-hmm. So it's a thought form, right? Where does construct of ego exist, right? So take that, and now that we've stepped up to it and looked at it and went, wow, it's thought forms. It's a construct that I believe in. And when I believe in it, and am wrapped up in it, and identify with that, the joy seems to go away. Or not. Sometimes the joy is there because I'm believing in a better construct of self. But it seems to be dependent on this thing, this construct, and its mood for the day. And how the construct is doing today seems to be dependent on whether or not I feel truth. Good. So we pointed at it, and there it is. So in this moment, for all of us, what if that construct, what if you put that aside? Lay it down as a habit. It's just a habit. A habit of trying to find self constantly, trying to create no self constantly. What if we put that down? Gave ourselves the break of constant assessment and interpretation and trying to find that which we already are. This feeling inside, let me ask you a few questions about it. Does it have an identity? Does it have a gender? Does it have a limitation? Does it have a shape? Does it have a construct? Does it have a form that is limited in any way? Is it any distance from you? You have to go somewhere to get it. Can it actually go anywhere? The eternal nature of being, the one isness. When we put down the individuated, separate identity of self as who we are, instead of a ego body vehicle that we use in this life, it is that, but it's not who we are. When we put it down as who we are, we discover that who we are is already present. No gender, no shape, no distance from self. It'd be as crazy as saying, here, stand in the center of the room, and if you did so, and then saying, okay, now take a step towards yourself. Where would you go? So this joy, right, that they're speaking to, what's the only thing that gets in the way of it?
The little I.
Ideas of self. That I'm not that.
What I found reassuring when we were in the moment there is, where does it go? And it doesn't go anywhere, and it is eternal. So it's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We're always going to have a quote unquote second chance to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this life is very distracting at times. And you can get focused on, you know, oh, college isn't going well, or this or that. And then, as we've mentioned many times, stop. We can get back to it every time.
Yeah. We just got to keep breaking the habit
Mm-hmm.
of the little I assessing the world relative to itself as real.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. We just identified it's a thought form. So keep breaking the habit of assessing the world as to its value or threat to this thing we call self that turns out isn't even real. And it takes a lot to keep breaking that habit. Break it and break it and break it and break it until it stays broken.
But it's very rewarding.
Can I share a story?
Mm-hmm.
The first time I felt joy, and that feeling, I was in my late 40s, and it didn't make any difference what promoted, but all of a sudden I felt this, and I thought, oh my God, I'm coming down with the flu. It was such a disruption in everything, and I was just, I'm floating, I'm flying. I mean, what? It's flu. It can't be anything else. Yeah, I got a long way to go. And it was wonderful. I mean, it was, whew, but flu.
Yeah.
When did you accept that it was joy?
I wanted so badly to have it be acceptable and be part of my life that I kind of stuck it in a corner of my consciousness and thought, no, there's something. I got to work on this. This is really good. And obviously, it was.
Yeah.
And I think that the joy is the definition of life. To me, it's it, joy. That encompasses everything. Joy. Oh my God.
And we find certain words that are as resonant as we can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right? Because, even joy would pay when we really feel into the isness of being the absolute freedom. I mean, joy ends up even being a small, well, it's peace. No, it's bliss. No, it's just isness.
Indescribable.
That's why I love the word isness. It's just this isness. It's just this allowing without interpretation and without definition, without even trying to capsulize and package it into a name.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the greatest practices is to stop every once in a while or come out of your meditation. And you can do it right now. Just take a moment and look around and see if you can just be with and not name anything. Don't name it. The naming is the first part of the assessment. First I have to name it, then I'll assess its value. So if we break that habit of naming anything, how can I choose if I like it or don't like it if I haven't even named it yet?
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Just is. That's it. Just is.
That one landed, huh?
Well, it's very ironic because I can walk in both worlds pretty well, with practice. But the irony is that, I'm out on the land naming things for people all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know every little thing. What's this plant? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? So I have to both tell them, oh, this is this kind of tree, and this is what it's good for, medicinally, its value or whatever. But then, 2 minutes later, we're dropping into a meditation. We're letting it all go. And I can go from like this encyclopedia of knowledge to like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
Somehow the knowledge stays there when I need it,
Yes.
and then just goes away quickly when I don't have use for it.
Yeah. It sounds like you're not using the knowledge and using the naming of things as a way of feeling like, and I like this and I don't like that, and you're not using it to navigate your sense of being in the world.
Yeah.
You're just naming it for knowing that pine tree is got a certain property and that juniper tree has another property.
Yeah.
But is there a value base on that?
Yeah, and I see it like a stepping, a ladder that shows a person, the value that we can all agree on based on society and the medicinal knowledge and so forth that we have about certain things, or you can eat, certain things that's valuable to any indigenous society. But then to say, okay, now look, and now just see it as presence, as energy, as just isness, or whatever word we want to use. Then it's just, seeing that although it may have a form, it's just the same stuff of life, the same consciousness and energy. So we can kind of, do that stepping back and, whoa, and that way it blows our minds. I thought I knew this thing. I was just starting to understand it, and now let it go, and don't give it any, association with this world,
Right.
And that's what my life and meditations have been about, just letting go of any sense of identification with anything of this world. And I can still enjoy all the wonderful things. I mean, I've been in nature more than ever, and it's just so fun because I don't need to make it mean anything. It's just, a simple way of being in a still perfect consciousness. Nature reflects that so well. It could be had in my own living room or wherever, and I do that too. But lately I've just been called out on the land, and more than ever. So it's been really fun.
I like the teaching that speaks to all the content, the raven, the pine tree, the appointment we have, the relationship, all the content. But all that content is arising and falling away, and arising and falling away within an unchanging context. So to keep coming to the pure consciousness awareness as the context within which everything arises and falls, comes and goes. All the temporary comes and goes. All the naming of things is handy. But it is not the reality of things. The reality is the essence you're speaking to. That's the reality. But we name things because it's handy. But don't get stuck in the naming of things. So all of life, all of this experience arises and falls, and is born and dies and comes and goes within what? Within what? What is aware? What is the witness? What is the unchanging eternal nature within which everything comes and goes? And we see ourselves and are so identified with ourselves as the thing that comes and goes. And that's what causes the suffering. Rather than, these experiences, they come and go. They are experiences and I have them, but they are not who I am. We all are the one within which it all arises, passes.
Lucky us.
Yeah.
Wow, what a blast.
Well, and that's it, isn't it? This is the natural gratitude of when we really come to this place, there is no need to practice gratitude any longer. Who's practicing gratitude? Is the one who has forgotten that it is the gratitude itself. When we recognize and really embody the oneness, then it's just, oh my God, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. Look how beautiful I am in all these different forms. Look how beautiful I am in this form. Look how beautiful I am in this form. Look how beautiful I am. It's just the I, the true I amness is I am that. Wow. And this little individuated self goes, yeah, but I feel so funky sometimes. Like, you
Go away.
that happens too, but it is not who I am. That's one of the things that arises and falls within the I amness.
It comes and goes. But never really.
It doesn't
It's
come and
always
go.
we think it comes.
The awake state or the non-awake state is what comes and goes.
How we're dealing with it.
But know that the efforting greatly, if not entirely, falls away when we really abide in and live from our truth. Efforting to create a self that will belong falls away. Isn't that nice? The efforting to create a self that can belong. Because I only want to belong if I believe I'm separate.
Mm-hmm.
If I really, really, really know the non-separateness, there is no longer a sense of how could I not belong. And I speak to this place from living most of my life quite anxious in a complete emotional mess of desperation over trying to belong. It's really nice not to have that efforting be as predominant, pervasive, constant. Woo. This just came to me. I've shared it before, but I love this image of, so we've got a clear pond of stillness, the essence of being, and it gets rippled with these thought forms of self. And the more that I, the small I, try to create a better self, it would be like me with my hands going out to the water and trying to smooth out the water.
Yeah.
God, I want it to calm down. I'm trying to create a better, calmer, more peaceful self. Go peaceful. Go peaceful. And stop.
You have to laugh.
Stop. It's already peaceful. Stop trying to create peace. It's already peaceful.
Even the fluctuations are mysterious, because one can judge that, oh, I'm doing good this week, oh, I'm doing bad next week, and it's so funny how, I've experienced the same thing. It's been so effortless, the last few weeks, and it's been so abiding, and Julie had the same thing, she mentioned that, it was abiding virtually permanently, and so it's been really wonderful just to watch that. I remember Mooji said something which really was curious to me because, I'd left behind that old, Christianity, and Satan, all that stuff. And Mooji said, when the awakening is becoming apparent, very abiding, there also appears to be this other force that distracts you, that wants to pull you away, and oh, come over here, come back to entertainment and distraction and all these things and we had talked about that last session since we skipped a week from Super Bowl, and I had mentioned there are a lot of distractions over the winter, and whether they were distractions or not, they were something that part of me judged as not as peaceful or as abiding or as disciplined, what have you. And so I'm just watching the forces, that the ones that make it feel or seem so effortless, and the force that seems to come along every so often and distract and hey, get busy again. Hey, go into find this new hobby or new project, and yet the presence is always there. It's always available. It's always open for connection and revealing itself, but just to be aware of those potential patterns and or influences is to transcend them altogether, to where you're not even aware that there's any force or influence that could have any power over you.
Because all of those that arise and pass, right, are arising and passing, bubbling up, of being born, dying within what? Within the context of isness, within the pure, true, eternal love nature that has no words, as we, joy, bliss, expansive, no words. It is the isness within which all of those comings and goings and distractions, and now I feel peaceful and now I don't, and watching them not as them, completely recognizing and abiding in the absolute context, not as the coming and going. I was great last week. Now I'm not so great. Okay, what is aware of that? It's always the question. Just keep asking. And what is aware of that? I am aware of that. Oh, the I who forgets and remembers? And what is aware of that? Just keep taking it out, keep taking it out. What is aware? Finally, you get to the place of the unchanging eternal nature that is always aware of all of it, arising and falling, and doesn't judge any of it. And that's who we are. Wouldn't it be nice if we learned that when we were young?
Oh boy.
So we learn it now, and we just, then,
Wouldn't
okay,
mean
so
anything
now.
if we learned it right away. It wouldn't have the impact that it has now. Like, oh my God, where have I been?
So let's sit with this for a moment in the context within which all content arises and passes, comes and goes, is born and dies, all the temporary. What is the witness to the temporary? What is the unchanging nature of self? Not as an ego construct, not as something the I can claim, as the oneness, as the true, one, eternal, knowing nature, whatever you want to call it. God, pure consciousness, isness.